But recently, he just did an episode in which he talked about leaving an inheritance to your children, but not leaving a vision for your children. That thing really spoke to my soul.
Welcome to Impact and Fulfillment with Coach Mike D, where you'll gain practical wisdom and dynamic insight from amazing conversations to live your best life.
What's going on, y'all? This is Coach Mike D with another episode of Impact and Fulfillment. Hope y'all are having an amazing day and are really enjoying yourself. Really making the most out of each moment that you're blessed with, and doing things with intention, right? A lot of times we just end up floating and we don't really have intentionality associated with how we operate, and that tends to cause us to blow in the wind, and you end up blowing in the wind in situations and in directions that sometimes aren't in your favor when you don't have intentionality. Okay. But speaking of intentionality, we also have to be very mindful of not going overboard and forcing ourselves or forcing our will into or on the lives of others. You know, I was really convicted recently in an episode that I listened to on another person's podcast. There's a brother, Dr. Amos Johnson. He has a podcast called Faith Community. It was formerly the Church for Entrepreneurs, but it's, Faith Community. But recently, he just did an episode in which he talked about leaving an inheritance to your children, but not leaving a vision for your children. That thing really spoke to my soul. Because, so often as parents, we get caught up in trying to create a vision that our, kids can carry on, or trying to create generational wealth or some type of generational legacy that we can leave behind for our kids to build upon, right? Create a platform that our kids can jump off of into, the thing that we've created and kind of carved a path out for them, right? I mean, you see it historically where you'll see, multiple generations of individuals following one specific career path. Someone's great grandfather was a physician, so the grandfather was a physician, the father's a physician, and now the child is a physician, right? And it's interesting because if that individual is called or driven to go down that particular path, that is 100% great. But when I listened to Dr. Amos Johnson's podcast, it made me question, well, what if that individual is not called down that particular path? Am I setting a vision for my children that is really not in alignment with the gifts, talents, and skills that they've been blessed with the calling that they have on their life? And it made me really question that, because as parents, you want the best for your children, but the flip side of that is you also don't want to derail your children from following the path that God has set for them, which may or may not be in alignment with the vision you have set for them. Again, this was one of those ones that really convicted me, because again, I'm all about intention and being intentional, but I'm also wanting to be very much in alignment with what it is my kids are called to do. I helping to identify that, pour gasoline on that particular fire, but then ushering in a way for them to fully live out what it is they're called to do. And in the episode, Dr. Amos Johnson also mentioned, he said we should leave an inheritance for our kids, not a vision. And even biblically, it says leave an inheritance to your children's children. It doesn't say leave a vision to your children's children. Like that, again, that thing spoke to me. And I hope it speaks to you all. And this is difficult because, again, as parents, we want the best for our children, but we have to also stop short of trying to create a vision for our children. I truly believe, in this episode from Dr. Amos Johnson really convicted this perspective, that it's really my job not to create a vision for my children, but to help them to discover what the vision is for their individual lives, and for me to then help to propel them forward. And then again, me doing what I'm supposed to do and being able to leave an inheritance to them and generations after them to help propel those visions forward, whether or not they are in alignment with my vision. So again, this is one that really struck a chord with me. And I believe if you listen to this, you process, and you listen to this again, especially if you're a parent, I believe this will resonate with you as well. And it's interesting because, again, I'm also viewing this through the lens, through like a Western lens, right? Like, I'm living here in the United States. You know, people listen to this all over the world. And I was recently having a conversation with a really good friend of mine who currently lives in Europe, but his family's from, one of the, the countries in Africa. And one of the things that we were talking about was the challenge of this particular perspective, especially when there are strong cultural ties, because, there are certain parts around the world in which, the caste or the lot that you were given at birth, meaning the family that you were born into, kind of dictates your trajectory unless you leave that area, right? So I'm really approaching this through the lens of the freedoms that I'm afforded living where I live. And I'm very conscious that around the world, this might be a very challenging perspective, because there are cultural dynamics that are stronger that kind of restrict mobility outside of your caste or outside of your class or outside of your current designation. But when you do have the option, and when you are in a position to, in essence, help uncover what it is your kids are supposed to do, it's not necessarily about us making them do something. It's more so about helping to discover what it is they're supposed to do and making that come to life, because that is that unique thing that's put inside of them. So anyway, I hope this episode was beneficial, and I hope this thought was beneficial. And thank you, Dr. Amos Johnson, because that was really a thought-provoking concept. So as always, make sure to follow Coach Mike D on Instagram and on YouTube, and the Coach Mike D on TikTok. And grab a copy of my book, The 33 Laws of Impact and Fulfillment. And y'all have an amazing day. Y'all be blessed, well, and wise. I'll holler at you. Peace.
I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and follow Coach Mike D everywhere on social media. Y'all be blessed, well, and wise.